Hello and welcome to this Future Tech virtual roundtable from Foodservice Consulting Society International, FCSI. Today we are focusing on designing commercial kitchens and operating food service spaces in the casino sector. I'm Michael Jones from Progressive Content, Editorial Director of FCSI's Foodservice Consultant magazine. This roundtable is very kindly supported by Welbilt Inc. Huge thanks to them. And we'll take a deep dive into how innovation is shaping the future of food service in casinos, from evolving design in a post-COVID world to hospitality management and making the food service offering profitable again. I'm delighted to be joined by two leading FCSI professional member consultants and the Director of Sales for Merrychef USA West at Welbilt Inc. So firstly, let me ask each participant to introduce themselves and tell us about their organisation and their area of expertise. Arlene, can we start with you first, please?
Sure. Thanks for putting this together. The gaming environment has really grown up. And part of what we do here at my firm is really to understand what the value drivers are for the psychographics of somebody who's in a casino or in a gaming or entertainment environment, and what their behavior is, what the trends are in terms of how they want to eat, how they want to spend their money, what does value mean to them, and why would they go to one casino versus another one, especially in a saturated market like a Las Vegas or now actually across the country. So we work with kitchen designers and architects to develop food programs that are going to differentiate the casino as a brand, as well as create some cash flow and use the food service as a marketing tool. So in that environment, this is how we relate to the other consultants on the project.
Outstanding. Thank you, Arlene. Steve, please.
Oh, sure. I'm Steve Carlson with Rippe Associates. I'm the president, and I also lead the hospitality studio. Rippe has been around since 1982. I think I joined in '86. And when I joined, all we did was hospitals. So, but around 1992, through some past contacts, we got an opportunity to do some work in the casino environment, and that business has steadily grown since then. I've been excited about it. The food and beverage options are a little more interesting than they are in healthcare, so it certainly fits some of my personal passions. So we've seen, I guess it seems like it's been a long time since 1992. We've seen a lot change. So
fantastic, and we'll discuss those changes in a second. Thank you very much, Steve, and welcome. And Patrick, please.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the opportunity to join the roundtable today. I am as you said, the director of sales for the Western region for Merrychef high-speed ovens, and have been in the hospitality industry for about 30 years. I live in Las Vegas, so it's the casino industry is near and dear to my heart. I spent 15 years working in the casinos myself personally, but yeah, it's ever evolving and changing. So what I do on a day in and day out basis is work with those casino operators to help them develop, labor saving techniques, utilizing some of the technology that we have today, like in the Merrychef high-speed ovens, where we're able to cut down on their labor and really speed of service and maintain the quality of the products that they're serving their guests. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Appreciate you joining us. Okay, let's do a bit of scene setting here then. Again, let's go around the table. Can you maybe help us set the scene here by giving us an overview of the different casino food service projects that you have worked on, and tell us how they fared generally over the last 2.5 years? Obviously, we're looking at that milestone of COVID and how it's impacted the industry. Tell us how your operator clients are now experiencing recovery, growth, or otherwise. Is there still a real period of challenge in the sector? Arlene, let's start with you first, please.
Sure. About 3 years ago, I guess when COVID first came out and we realized how it was going to impact the industry, I got some calls from some of my clients who are in this business, and one in particular was the Cherokee tribe based in Oklahoma. They have 10 locations, and 3 of them had very large buffets in Tulsa, Roland, and in West Siloam Springs. And of course, even when people were coming back and the guests were coming back to do some gaming, they had to shut down their buffets. Nobody wanted to stand on queue. No one wanted to share tongs. The salad bars were out. They tried putting, QR codes on tables and packaging everything and bringing it out to their car. It was just a mess. And then, of course, they said, this is a really good time to rethink the whole buffet offering. And so I was brought on board, and I brought in some consultants and architects with me, and we looked at the space. We looked at first the inventory of what we were able to save from the back of the house commissary, what was working. And we then, kind of tore down the whole front of the house buffet, and I created a food hall model for them, which gave them a lot more flexibility with the hours, with the quality of the food. And we changed the technology, the delivery system. And we realized also that the guests now that were coming back, that they were a little bit more demanding. They wanted to be able to order from mobile kiosks throughout the property, which also had a hotel. They wanted to order from their phones and be able to go to a pickup area and not necessarily order at the counter. We also put in a feature if we wanted to sit down and had to do table service. So all of these systems now created challenges and training. But now that the guests are coming back, they really love it. And in fact, it's been so popular in the local area that people are coming in there that are not there to use the slot machines or play poker. They're coming there to eat, which to me is the greatest compliment and success of the project.
Great stuff. Thank you, Arlene. A very interesting take there. And Steve, does that chime with your experience? What sort of how is the market out there for you and your clients?
Yeah, I would, I think we'll probably talk more about food halls as we go forward here, but I would say overall the casinos are doing great, on it revenue wise. They've got maybe not as many people, but they've got the people that they want are coming to the casino. So most of our clients, their revenue levels are back to pre-pandemic levels. But but on the other side of it, as far as our projects go, we've had a few small projects be completed. Again, these are mostly focused on their VIP customers, making sure that they can take care of offering some food and beverage offerings for those customers in particular. But they're having the same staffing issues everybody else is. Most of our casinos are operating half or less of their venues. As Arlene said, most everybody's closed their buffet. We'll talk more about that later. But, so we're starting to see some complete renovation, big projects come up where they want to refresh all the restaurants, replace them all. But really before they commit to the money to that, they're going to have to know that they're going to be able to find the people to work in those restaurants. So.
Great answer. Thank you, Steve. Same question to you then, Patrick. You mentioned about it's an ever-evolving sector anyway, but do you feel like it's a market that's back in recovery? Is it reaching those pre-pandemic levels that Steve was mentioning there for you and your perspective?
It is reaching pre-pandemic levels, definitely. But they're, really the casino industry is trying to do more with less. They have labor shortages. They have things that are kind of happening. So they're looking for, pieces of equipment, technology, things like that to be able to, make it a little bit easier for their current workforce to be able to do the same jobs. But in the same respect, have the speed of service that their guests are demanding. Arlene articulated to that, saying that really they want to be able to order from their phones. They want to be able to order from their rooms. They don't want any type of waiting, so to speak. So we're really, as an equipment manufacturer, we're really trying to develop, pieces of equipment and technology that is going to benefit those casino operators, and working in projects. I've worked with, local casino groups. I'm currently working with local casino groups, some of the larger ones as well, too, that are international. And they're all kind of looking for the same things. They're looking to be able to become a little bit more efficient, a little bit more innovative, and really build guest loyalty.
Great stuff. Thank you, Patrick. And just a quick question then to our consultants. Doing a bit of future gazing here, do you feel confident in terms of the future slate of project work you've got in this sector that it's going to be, there's still plenty of growth in this sector? Same for you, Steve, would you say?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is the time to talk about what Arlene was, the example that Arlene had at Cherokee with the closing the buffets and converting to food courts. I mean, that's probably most of the projects that we're going to be working on are, all our casino clients close their buffets, and, they're not planning on reopening. I mean, I think they've always wanted to close them for financial reasons. And so COVID gave them the excuse to do that. So.
Mm-hmm.
And say for you, Arlene, what does it look like in terms of your future slate?
Well, from the whole casino industry, the whole sector has really changed as well, because everything used to be coming on site to have the actual experience with the various games. But there's a lot of kind of, I'm going to say, off-track betting and all kinds of different areas where people who want to place bets or play in any one of the gaming arenas now almost don't have to come on site anymore if they want to get that thrill. So to me, the food programs, the restaurants, the comps, if you will, the loyalty programs, puts a bigger emphasis on getting people on site. And the restaurant part of it is huge. It's also a very big part for the VIP and the high rollers, because typically, a meal or two meals is part of the component of rewarding their high rollers. So, from fine dining to hot dogs, we have to really have best in class, because people are going to say, well, I could go somewhere else, or I could bet offline, or I don't have to go here. So there's so many choices now that the competition is really driving the investment people are making, the operators are making now, because they want to get people back on site. And most of the casinos that I work with are part of a hotel group and part of a whole entertainment complex. It's not just a standalone slot machine place anymore. So we really have to help them imagine it. And truthfully, to the conversation about equipment and technology, the chefs that I work with and the concepts that I'm developing for these clients, we're reverse engineering our menus now to fit the equipment, as opposed to the equipment serving the chef. It's like a whole reverse engineering, because the truth is, with products like Merrychef and combi ovens and so much that can be done now to create consistency in output, lower the labor demand that's out there, and people want things fast. So it's not just like back of the house, front of the house now. Everything is integrated into delivering the best experience consistently to help that operator make the impression and connect with the guest.
Great answer. Thank you, Arlene. A question for you, Steve. You talked about how you had experience in other sectors, and I know you work on other areas of the industry as well. But what would you say sets casino food service projects apart from others? And how do you approach, say, the primary stakeholders that you're going to be dealing with on a casino project to say a B&I or a hotel project? What kind of really sets them apart in terms of your general approach?
Well, I think the most important thing to understand about the difference between a casino and a standard hotel is the experience the guest is looking for. If somebody decides to go to a casino, they've decided they're going to take a risk, right? I mean, they're going to risk some money in hope of a big payout. So there's a thrill associated with that, that you can't get checking into the Marriott, right? Because nobody says, should we go to the casino tonight or should we go to the Marriott, right? And our job is to make sure that the rest of their experience has the same kind of energy level as the gaming experience does. So, from a food perspective, they want an over the top experience. So, and our job is, they may win, they may lose, but we want to make sure they're going to remember the food and the drinks that they had. So, on the high end, I'm sure Arlene can tell you the same thing. It's prime beef, dry aged with Himalayan salt. Maybe it's Kobe, Wagyu, foie gras, hard to find wines. It's really, if somebody goes to the casino, they want to have a night out. They want to have a memorable experience. So, and the other thing is, contrast to hotel, most frequent casino guests don't pay for their hotel room or their meals. I mean, it all depends upon how much they're willing to risk, so the size of your hotel room, which restaurant you can eat in, and any other perks that you might get is all kind of related to your risk level.
Fantastic, Steve. Thank you. Patrick, does that echo sort of how your approach as well in terms of working on these kind of projects, that best in class element that Arlene mentioned, that kind of the thrill aspect, the kind of it needing to be bringing the same OTT kind of energy level that Steve referred to? How do you guys approach a food service installation?
Yeah, to be quite honest, Michael, is with everything to kind of echo what Arlene and Steve had said is very true. But it's really just capturing the customer, the guest for the hotel. And to Arlene's point is, how do we keep them there longer? And to kind of echo as far as food and beverage offerings and things of that nature, it really comes down to providing the best in class as far as the actual entertainment experience, and that could be from food and beverage to going to a concert or a different event that's being held at the hotel to keep them there. And right now, what we're seeing is a lot of the hotels now, they've made everything a revenue stream. I mean, 30, 40 years ago in the casino industry, food and beverage was a loss leader. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now food and beverage has to make a profit. Banqueting has to make a profit. All these things are revenue centers for the hotel. So the days of the $1.99 buffets and 99-cent shrimp cocktails are gone. Now you're going to pay $18 to $24 for a shrimp cocktail, and now you're going to pay for your parking. I mean, we're seeing never thought I'd see it. I mean, being in Las Vegas for as long as I have, seeing hotel properties charging for parking. I mean, every area of the business of the segment is now a revenue stream. So, and looking at it from our perspective, from design work to manufacturing of equipment, Arlene is very correct. The chefs and food and beverage directors and stuff that I work with on a day in and day out basis, they're trying to build their menus and their offerings to guests, not only for speed, but based on the equipment that they have available to them right now with supply chain issues and challenges. I mean, right now with, Merrychef in particular, we're not experiencing that. We have, inventory where a lot of manufacturers don't have inventory. So when you're looking at those things, it really changes a chef or food and beverage director's perspective on, what they're going to put on a menu and what offerings they're going to have available to their guests.
Patrick, you mentioned supply chain issues there. You also alluded to the huge shadow of kind of labor shortages impacting on not just this industry, but every industry in food service at the moment. Could you maybe expand a little bit on how those challenges are impacting not just day-to-day operations in food service in the casino sector, but also the reaction to it, how equipment, how technology is adapting? You talked about it being an ever-evolving field. So how are these challenges being met? How are you and your team working to solve those? And then we'll hear from the consultants on that front too, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're trying to make our equipment as user-friendly as possible, as safe and as far as the actual build, we're trying to make it where an unskilled and untrained worker can actually operate something via, icons or images that are located on a piece of equipment. We're trying to tie all of those pieces of equipment together onto one platform. So, Arlene's working with the executive chef of a property. He'll be able to see, or she'll be able to see, all of their pieces of equipment on one dashboard, so to speak, so that they can do menu pushes. They have the ability to be able to see how many times the door has been open on it, service related, things that are happening, maybe, the amount of time that's been, the door's been open and closed affected the gasket. So from a service respect, they have the ability to be able to, let their engineers know that, we may have to replace, something, a component on a piece of equipment. So it's really that food and beverage director, manager, chef, what have you, is having them embrace that technology. Some are embracing it and are appreciating it because they're seeing that now their job is becoming affected, whereas they can't get the staff that they used to have the skills and knowledge 10 years ago, whereas today they don't have the skills and knowledge. So they're trying to buy pieces of equipment for their operations that make it as easy as possible for the end user to be able to work on and ultimately, have a excellent guest experience. So a lot of technology being involved, not just in the kitchen equipment, but front of the house as well too. And I know we'll allude to getting some additional things that are kind of happening in the front of the house. But yeah, having the technology and having the interlock of all the equipment on one dashboard, so one or a few people in an operation can actually control it. That's what we're going to see, and that's what we're experiencing right now.
Great stuff. Thank you, Patrick. Arlene, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that are still holding this sector back? Arlene, one for you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were addressing me. Sorry, I didn't hear that. I think the labor challenge is probably the greatest factor, but I think I'm seeing hopeful signs of adjusting. I mean, from the equipment manufacturing and all of the technology involved sets the back of the house, the operators up for success, because we have literacy issues, we have language barriers, we have people who are quiet quitting, if you've heard that phrase before, where they're just on the job, but they're really not focused. Everything we could do to get them up to speed and to motivate them. But at the end of the day, whether it's a casino or a business and industry or a hospital, it's always about leadership. It's always about inspiration and attitude, and helping develop people become the best that they can be and realize that there's a purpose in their work. And I hate if the conversation just goes to commoditizing a process, because the end result of everything we do should be to uplift people, whether they're people who work in the casino environment and food service or the guests who come there. And of course, the ownership who wants to be able to have, an absolute opportunity to be best in class in their field. That's what it's about. So everything that we do here is a means to an end. And it's also facing the reality and the bumps in the road as we go. But I have seen tremendous opportunities for food service in all sectors, including the casino sector, because they have typically the kitchens that can become commissaries for other demands. I mean, during COVID, some of the back of house commissaries stayed intact, and they were feeding the hospitals and the frontline workers and the Meals on Wheels and the elderly and some government programs and schools. And they weren't having people come in and play, but they were still getting a stipend or some kind of cash flow out of other partnerships that they didn't realize were out there. Now, of course, they're back to using their kitchens for their front of the house, for their food halls, for their fine dining, for their catering, their special events. But, kitchens are useful places.
Great stuff, Arlene. Thank you. Same question to you, Steve. What do you feel are still the biggest challenges out there for the casino sector, and how do you feel it's overcoming those?
Oh, I think, we haven't talked about this yet, which is kind of an existential threat, I think, for the casinos, is to attract the next generation. They've been, we've had this cadre of people who grew up when casinos were only in Las Vegas and Atlantic City, right? And they were a little illicit, and kind of, so that when they came to the every state, that group of people was excited to go there. But I mean, young people today, they there's always been casinos as far as they're concerned, so there's no special reason to go there just because it's a casino. But I think what our clients are doing is looking at how do we attract the young people, and they like to come and have a group experience. I think that's where the food halls or the sports bars, e-gaming, where they can have a group experience, whether it's at a blackjack table or craps or, in one of these things where they're all playing the same game, competing against each other. Those kind of projects are going to be more important in order to sustain the casino customer.
Excellent answer. Thank you, Steve. All three of you have mentioned at various points about sort of the demise of the kind of buffet and talking about how salad bars, certainly during that kind of peak of COVID, were just, out of the question. Are they, what is the long-term future of a buffet or a salad bar in this industry? It's a question that's been asked a lot in this sector, but let's kind of get your take on where you think, what its future looks like. Steve, what would you say?
I would, like I said, I mean, I think COVID gave, the casinos an excuse to close their buffets, and they didn't make sense from a financial aspect. I mean, there was so much food waste, so much labor involved. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at a food hall, it follows the retail model. You don't cook something until you sell it. Customers are comfortable with one venue being open, another one being closed. But I don't know, and Arlene, you spoke to this a little bit earlier. In just what I watched going around, I don't know if people are concerned about the buffet as much as they used to be, or tongs or things like that. I don't see that. I don't think we're going to see a big buffet like we used to. Not to say that, in a breakfast restaurant, you might see a breakfast buffet. I just don't think that many customers are that concerned about it. This is sort of going down a rabbit hole, but I was just spent 2 weeks in South America, in every hotel I stayed at had a breakfast buffet, and there was no sneeze guards. I know this is a subject for another talk, but the U.S. is the only country that requires sneeze guards. I don't see them anywhere else in, South America or Europe, but that's probably a conversation for another call. But anyways, I always have to say that.
No, I just came back from Singapore, same story, but lots of buffets, no sneeze guards. Patrick, same question to you. What do you think the long-term future for the buffet and the salad bar is in a casino setting?
Well, I think the buffets are going to evolve, and they're currently evolving right now. A lot of hotels, safety and sanitation is the utmost importance for a casino operator and food and beverage in general. Some have decided not to bring them back, but the ones that have decided to bring them back are turning them into more of an experience, like a fine dining experience, where it's no longer, you're just having your standard fare, so to speak, meatloaf and mashed potatoes on a buffet. Now you're getting, racks of lamb and Kobe beef and, things like that you wouldn't normally see. They're charging now, a lot more for those buffets, but the guests are still wanting them. There's still demand for them. There are, obviously safety precautions. There are sneeze guards, that are needed and required. Okay. Based on local health code, but absolutely. I think buffets are going to still be around. I just think that they're going to morph into a more experience type fine dining experience for the guest versus just having your typical fare that you'd find on a buffet and, charging, $10 for something. Now that they're going to charge, some buffets here in Las Vegas right now for dinner are $90+. So it's really, the costs have gone up, but they're also giving the guests the experience that they're wanting to from a fine dining restaurant.
Thank you, Patrick. Arlene, why did it work for in your experience, that kind of buffet salad bar model to morph into a food hall model? Why was that so effective in the project you were describing earlier?
Well, it was effective because the quality of the food when you're focused on one cuisine. So if we're doing, Mexican, it's not a Mexican buffet where the tacos are sitting there and the beef and the oils are just dripping out. I mean, you're seeing, well, it's a quality issue. And it really has, even with the buffets, maybe the ones that Steve is talking about, are coming back. They're still going to lose money, because in order for it to look abundant and for it to be a buffet in someone's mind from the old school, they're looking for huge piles and generosity. And then there's people who have to attend all of these stations all the time, because you can't have anything look empty. I don't see them coming back in any way, shape, or form, because to me, fine dining, usually people want to sit down, they want to sit down, they want to be served. Whereas you can have best in class of different little restaurants that make up a food hall and have authentic food and have it pretty much made to order or staged to be assembled quickly. And it could be limited, which means that you're controlling your food costs, your inventory, your waste. And also you could change your menu up quickly too. And if a concept doesn't work, basically because we've engineered it to have flexibility with all of the mechanicals and the ventilation, you can kind of change that concept overnight and have a new restaurant opening all the time. So I don't see the buffets being something that the operators are looking forward to bringing back. I really don't. What I do see is actually more of a movement to upscale merchandising and retail, where if in a food hall you only have 3 of the 5 venues open, you actually can have, wonderful grab and go. Yeah. And people love that. And they have beautiful packaging now. And all of this could be done behind the scenes. The merchandising case is loaded up and revolving during the different day parts. So that if you're a casino and you're in a hotel, the hotel guest gets up and they could go down to maybe the coffee bar, and nearby is a beautiful selection of beverages, of yogurts, of all kinds of salads. And then it morphs into a soup and a sandwich, so that you almost have a 24/7 restaurant, but you don't need to have everything open. Whereas the buffets, what are you going to do? You either open or you're closed.
Yeah. That's an excellent point. Patrick, the examples that Arlene and Steve have been describing there is exactly what you said at the start about how evolving this sector is, and it kind of always has been, but really in particular. Why do you find this still such a fun and rewarding sector to work in? How is it keeping you and your sort of culinary team on their toes to keep reinventing this stuff?
Yeah, no, I mean, who doesn't like entertainment? Who doesn't like the experience of really enjoying, one-stop shopping, so to speak, of actually, going to see your favorite concert, your favorite band, so to speak, and then, spending time, eating, dining, what have you. So, the lights, the entertainment, all of those things, combined really make a phenomenal guest experience. And, to Arlene and Steve's point, we are seeing the changes that are kind of happening, where you're going to more of these QSR model coffee shop, 24-hour type venues that are out there. And, it's basically speed of service. The guest is looking for a quality product, but they also want it fast. So that's where you're, innovating with some of this mobile technology and being able to order from your room via tablet and so on and so forth. So yeah, that is definitely going to be, what's going to be happening now and in the future is, anticipating the guest's needs before they even need something. So I definitely think that there's very much truth in what Arlene and Steve had said in regards to the buffets. Yes, they are lost leaders. They are, places that the hotels have tried to get rid of for years. Okay, and the majority of them have. But I think, reinventing themselves, going back to the reinvention of, giving more offerings, speed of service, quality of product, and really getting them on to doing what the guest wants to do. Go see a concert, go see a, go game. I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, we got to remember what they're in business for, right? They're in business for gaming. They're in business to be able to make profit. So, as a manufacturer, we're really trying to help them get people through lines quicker and give them a high quality product with very minimal skilled labor force.
Thank you, Patrick. Steve, question for you. In terms of delivering that speed of service that Patrick was talking about, but also that high quality product, how have you seen innovation really kind of come to the fore in the last couple of years? What have you seen that's really sort of inspired you and made you think this is a sector that's kind of, future fit, that's innovation and technology is really helping it?
Yeah, well, I just want to, piggyback on what Arlene said about her experience at the Cherokee, where they were, the customers were forcing the casino to, do app ordering, add that technology to. All the casinos have a player app that their customers can put on there, but integrating that so that the customer can order food on there, they can, have frictionless payment. Pick it up at a designated location. I think that is certainly driving all the projects that we're working on. I don't know if Arlene's seen this or not, but when we're talking about these using technology and converting buffets to food halls, the casinos tell me that the staff that they can't hire is kind of a low-paid food runner, So, and unfortunately, at this point, they're saying, well, we're going to text the customer when the food is ready, and they're going to come to the counter and they get it, And I think until we figure out this labor shortage, the customer is going to be doing a little more work. I think the other technology is certainly ventless, and that, both the fact that you don't need a hood, but also all the technology that's built into that equipment. We'll probably talk about that a little bit more later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think let's focus a little bit at the moment on, we've covered a lot in kind of the content we're producing at the moment on not just the advent of electric kitchens, but the mass spread of it, especially across North America, kind of working its way from west to east at the moment. How is that drive towards electric kitchens changing the food service offering for casinos, if at all? So how are you seeing that change? I don't know who wants to take that question first. Patrick, is that impacting how you guys are assessing what you're producing and how?
Absolutely, yeah. We're seeing, especially, depending upon, the area of the country that we're focused in on, New York, California, those areas in particular are really driving, the need and the want for, electric equipment. So we're seeing that more so that our casino operators are asking us, getting away from the gas, even though, gas is a little bit more cost effective, but long term, the electric kitchens are going to be a wave of the future. We're going to see that not just happening in, New York and California, but throughout the country. That they're converting from natural gas to electric appliances throughout their operations. So that is definitely something that's going to be happening, and it's happening now, and it's going to be happening, for the rest of our careers, so to speak. Just because we're trying to become a lot more efficient, and using electricity in the operations is definitely better for the environment, and it's also a lot cleaner.
Thanks, Patrick.
Well, if I may just jump in with that, electric, now that it's moving more towards that, makes a lot of sense environmentally, from a consciousness standpoint, but very often something that's powered by electricity doesn't always need the hood. So you can have a small electric oven on the front line and bake off muffins and create aromas without actually having, a big hood. Whereas with gas, you have to. You need the makeup air, and you need all the protections involved. I see it moving, but I think it's a slow movement. It's going to pick up speed, and then there's going to be like the electric cars. It's like, been in the making for 15 years, but now there's critical mass with it. So the electric companies in New York are just thrilled that this is happening. But I don't see it happening yet in a critical way. Plus the fact we have a lot of old buildings and old structures in New York,
Yep.
and just bringing that extra service in is pretty difficult. But I think with all the new buildings, whether they're residential or commercial, they're definitely going leaning much more towards electric.
Thank you, Arlene.
Yeah.
So Arlene mentioned there about the kind of, I guess, the move away from gas, but also touched on the issue of ventilation. Let's talk a little bit about ventless equipment and how, if at all, this is changing the game in casino food service. So what sort of requirement or appetite are you seeing for ventless equipment in a casino setting?
Oh yeah, I can take that one. But Michael, I want to have one more comment about the demand. I agree with Arlene. We haven't seen customers, gaming customers, casino customers asking for electric equipment. But your question prompted me to think about, most of the projects we work on are tribally owned, and the tribes are very interested in being self-sufficient. And I can see a day where a lot of them are located in the Southwest, right? California. They start adding solar fields or wind, and they're going to have lots of free electricity. I can see that's inevitable. We're going to get there. It's like they got to do something with it. I can't imagine how big of a solar field we'd need to power a casino, but I don't, someday we'll find out. So.
Excellent.
But coming back to ventless, it's certainly growing. Again, that's not something. Not every casino comes to us, food and beverage person says, hey, I want to use ventless. But, I do want to talk about one project we completed for a casino in the Pacific Northwest, and that it was 95% ventless. It was a food hall and an a la carte restaurant. And I'm just going to read one quote from the manager of this, which really sums up the impact of ventless. And he says, it's still amazing to see that when I walk through our production area, you don't have that lingering smell of cooking vapors or the stale smell that you get in most restaurant operations. So, to me, and I started thinking about this, what's driving that staff shortage? You can't just put out a help wanted sign. And what's amazing to me that people showed up for those jobs in the hot, smelly kitchens all those years, before we ran into this. And I think, the ventless is the one thing we can do, to help our restaurant operators compete in the labor marketplace by changing the environment in the kitchen. That's one big thing we can do to impact to make it, so it doesn't smell and it's not hot. So.
Excellent point, Steve. Another aspect, of course, I guess to kind of ease that labor shortage and labor supply is automation. And so let's talk a little bit, if we get time here, to talk about how robotics or automation is otherwise filling that labor gap. Patrick, do you want to talk about that? Do you want to also maybe talk about how connected kitchens are helping in that aspect as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's happening right now. We're seeing robotics in the gaming industry. There's several casinos in Las Vegas that that I can truthfully say that they're using robotic bartenders. They're eliminating the need, so to speak, to be able to first have the labor, but also for consistency purposes and all the kind of things that go along with automation. The robot never calls in sick. He's never late, or she. And so you're seeing that more so. Right now we're seeing that in the bartending, but you're going to see that eventually in other areas as well too. A little bit more robotics that are involved, and then the actual connection to the equipment. You're going to have a couple individuals that are going to be controlling all the equipment from a desktop, and it doesn't even have to be on property. They could be literally sitting anywhere in the world where they have an internet connection and being able to control it, and not just taking it a step further, not just controlling it from a computer somewhere, but controlling it from an app on their phone, being able to see real time what's happening in an operation. So literally you're going to be able to see from a surveillance standpoint, all the way through and including, the operation of your kitchen equipment, and seeing that real time, okay, from the comfort of wherever you are in the world. So, the cloud-based equipment is the way of the future. It's definitely happening as we speak, and you're going to see more and more automation for tasks that were, so to speak, menial, like to Steve's point, make it a little bit more user friendly, inside the kitchens and stuff. I grew up in the restaurant business and spent 15 years as a chef in the casinos in Las Vegas. And I can tell you that there's a lot of fatigue. There's a lot of things that are happening where, the newer generations, that are coming and evolving are not really wanting that. So they're kind of, getting away from, those hot, smelly kitchens, so to speak. We're seeing them now wanting to, work in a more pleasant, user-friendly environment. So yeah, definitely to Steve's point, I think we're going to see that. And I think we're also, right now, we're experiencing having all their pieces or as many pieces of equipment they can have connected together, where you only have a very few amount of people that are actually in control of the entire operation via phone and or computer.
Thank you, Patrick. Arlene, how do you see automation helping to fill that labor supply gap?
Well, I see it in two ways. First of all, from a guest standpoint, I only want to do what I'm getting credit for. I mean, no one really cares who's peeling the carrots and who's squeezing the orange juice. They really don't. I learned this from years and years ago when I did some consulting for a fast food burger chain, and they had drive-throughs, and the windows, and we doubled the lanes. And people in the car, when they grabbed that bag, they want to know if the order was accurate. Did it taste good? Was it hot? They don't care where the burger was made or who assembled it. They just want to know at the end of the day, what was that deliverable? And when I think about automation, especially in the bar scene with wine and beer and all of these programs where the guests can go up themselves and actually do a pour. And this is what you get credit for. You're taking automation, but you're making it into a guest experience.
Yeah.
That's where I think it's a lot of fun, especially in the casino environment where people are going there to get rid of all of the baggage from home. They want to go there and they want to participate. They want to be active. So where automation can make that happen, I'm all for it. But on the other hand, what I've been encouraging my clients to do is in the casino environment, especially because of labor, because of investment with equipment, is do a lot of outsourcing. And that may not be speaking to the automation part of it, but if you go to US Foods and Cisco and Baldor and all of these suppliers now, they all have programs in their commissaries with their labor and their equipment to create products that really only have to be assembled or rethermalized in the back of house at a casino kitchen. So they're using all of that automation in their commissaries. And this really reduces the need to have a lot of equipment and labor on site. Now, you might say, well, you're paying more for those carrots that are already peeled, but it's nothing compared to what you're paying labor now, if you could even get them in-house.
Yeah, absolutely. A final question for you all, and if we can go around the table, if possible, please. Can you let me know, what do you think are some of the biggest trends, but also maybe some of the biggest individual pieces of innovation that are going to hit the casino food service sector in the rest of the decade? What is going to really sort of change the game here for guests and for operators alike? Patrick, let's start with you first, please.
It's just really what we've talked about, through the call is the connection of the equipment, the UL rated ventless equipment, all of those things from a casino operator, having equipment that is a little bit more user friendly, to Steve's point, having it where it's not creating odors and, giving off heat and things like that. So you're going to see the casinos that are actually trying to make it as user friendly as possible for their employees to make them feel comfortable to be able to come to work. And you're going to see this technology where cloud-based applications are going to really, come into play. IoT platforms, things like that are going to be spread out throughout the casino industry they're embracing it now, but we're just on, the start, the cusp of this to actually grow into, more, to Arlene's point, having the automation of the bartender walking up to, an automated bartender to be able to make your drink. You're going to see those things happening as labor starts to get a little bit more scarce. But also too, the costs of being able to open up a restaurant or a venue, are skyrocketing. Putting in a hood system is obviously a very expensive, partaking in a very expensive part of a kitchen operation. So that UL rated ventless equipment is really going to come into play, and you're going to see a lot more embracing of that from the casino industry, the chefs that are operating them, and the food and beverage management in general.
Great stuff. Thank you, Patrick. Arlene, same question to you. What's going to be the biggest changes, do you think, the biggest impacts on this sector?
Well, from the operator standpoint, I think that there's going to be a big emphasis and investment on learning how to think about things again, using technology, using information, and basically understanding the world of logistics, doing, kind of processing and process mapping, and understand where the chain is, what's costing you money, what's interrupting the deliverable to the guest. And so it's kind of stepping back and looking at how can we do things better. And I'll give you just a little example, because I do a lot of work for Disney and for other entertainment venues. And, when I sit with the executives and the operators at Disney, they'll tell me that their expertise is not in entertainment. Their expertise is in logistics. And I go, okay, how do you figure that? They said, well, we know how to move product, we know how to move people, and we know how to move garbage. And the fact that they've learned how to do all of that, while the guest doesn't know any of it, the guest is just having a great time. But they're constantly reinventing and assessing, are we moving our product efficiently? Are we moving our guests to where we want them to see and go and spend money? And are we taking away any of the ugly stuff so that they don't have to see any chip paint or garbage? That's really where the trend is. It's a whole way of thinking about the industry and the operation.
Great answer. Thank you, Arlene. Steve, same question to you as well, please.
Yeah, well, I think I would just echo what Patrick and Arlene said. I think that, the future of the casino is certainly going to involve technology. And I love the examples that Arlene and Patrick gave about Patrick with the automated bartending station, technology that's been around for 15, 20 years, and the wine dispensing too. I mean, which adds to the guest experience. I think the casinos are going to have to look around and make sure that their food and beverage offerings are competitive to what's going on in the commercial marketplace, whether it's food halls or whatever kind of entertainment and food is going on out there. And I would just, another thought related to technology. We are talking to some casinos. I mean, they all have warehouses. And so we're getting some now that are starting to borrow some technology that Amazon and some of the other distribution centers are using. They don't have the people, I love your comment, Arlene, about let's think about the process flow, right? They're just kind of the nuts and bolts, right? Not the sexy stuff. So.
Excellent. Steve, thank you. I think it's a really great place to conclude upon. That was a really fun and a really interesting and absorbing discussion from some superb speakers, Arlene, Steve, and Patrick. Many thanks for joining us today. I'd like to thank Welbilt for their support. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned to fcsi.org for future events in the series. Thank you.